Folks, it's not every day that a well known adage finds itself getting disproven, as is what happened today. A stitch in time saves nine. That's that old saying that says, if you address a problem now, what's a small problem now won't be a bigger problem later. There's the early bird catches the worm. It's a very simple saying that says, if you hustle, you will achieve. And clearly that is true, objectively true. But today we learned that when they say good things come to those who wait might wait too late. And that ain't great if it lets a known criminal skate from all accountability. And that indeed is what happened when we learned that Judge Merchan is putting a stay on sentencing for Donald Trump, and presumably just setting up the dismissal of all charges. I don't know about you. I ain't too happy about that because we've been preaching all along that no one is above the law. But now we're learning that you can be above the law if you have enough money and enough connections to get away with shooting somebody in the middle of Fifth Avenue. So we're going to get into that. Are you ready? I am. Let's go. Story time. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Happy Friday, you guys. Happy Friday indeed. I don't know why I don't play that song more often in my spare time because it always gets me, get the shoulders popping. Dun, dun, yeah, that's my jam. So let's see who do we have here at the top. Zelda, welcome, Zelda. See Teresa Johnson, Fox Hill Dreams. I see Fritch says no sound, but I wasn't even here yet. The Trump Reaper, Valerie G is here. It's Seal Kazemi, Stella Baxter. CJ is here. Monique Lee. Let's see. I wonder if we have any friends from Blue Sky here. Let's see. Samantha Hawkins is here. Cindy C. Bernadette H is here. Samantha. Wait, did I say Samantha Hawkins? Samantha Hawkins again. Let's see. Punxsutawney Mo is here. Shell Teresa, Diane London is here. She says, sickening. I know what you mean. You are, of course, referring to the notion of anyone, let alone Donald Trump, getting away with all of those crimes, all of them. All of them. It is sickening. Lucielle, welcome, my friend. Watcher Soko is here. Hey, Philosophy is back in the house. Welcome back, my friend. It's good to see you. We don't see you every week, but it's good when you do pop in. Nurse Mitch, aka Tracy M, is here. Let's see. That damn Alaskan is here. There she is. RJ. What is the name of the theme song? It escapes me now. Something like Feeling. I think it's Feeling All Right is the name of it. Kiki is as a mouthful here. He gets away with everything, so I'm not a bit surprised. There's always a chance, maybe even a good chance, that someone with money is above the law. It is sickening. God damn it! It is extremely sickening. RJ is here from Blue Sky. All right, that's cool. Very cool. Okay, I was experimenting. Hey, the ABX girl, I see you there. I was experimenting with posting a link on Blue Sky because they are able to click and view actually through the app. But I don't know if they have the same interactivity, if they can leave comments while the show is live. So we'll see what happens with that. So all right, let's get into what we have on tap today with our stories of the day.
Stories of the day.
And our top story, of course, the title slide, it says above the law. Yeah, yeah. I honestly, I didn't believe that until today that Donald Trump is above the law. He clearly is. You got to admit it. If it's true, it's true. And right now, it's true. It's that simple. Fighting, denying it is just going to make it more painful. The exodus continues. The exodus of people leaving Twitter continues, and I think they are losing something like 1 million users per day. And could this be the app? Is this the app? Does it have the stuff necessary to take down Twitter and replace it? We'll get into that. Donald Trump has already had this job. He's already been in the White House, in the Oval Office. You'd think he would have some experience picking people to be in his cabinet, but we all remember what a disaster that was the first time. It was a revolving door of a comedy of errors. Except it wasn't funny. It was disgusting. So we're getting some more of that with just horrendous picks across the board, one of whom was such a bad pick, he had to remove himself from contention. And of course, last but not least, the really disappointing news of the day: Donald Trump, we're learning, is officially above the law. Make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. The like button, it looks like a thumbs up, as you see right there on the screen. Please do that. It helps the channel tremendously. Thank you very much. And also, a quick reminder, if you have yet to check out my Substack, I highly recommend you do. Actually, one of the topics that I am discussing today about Blue Sky is covered in Substack, which ironically is, well, it's a Substack is really not like Blue Sky. Blue Sky is more short form. It's more like Twitter, whereas Substack is more like, it's where you go if you want to, if you want to settle down on your couch and get cozy with a nice little article, to tickle your brainstem. I am there to tickle thine brainstem. And there's a little sneak peek at my article. It's called "Blue Sky is Better." Why I'm rooting for Blue Sky to rain on Twitter's parade. And if you see the graphic there, I'm going to full screen that. That graphic I created as with a combination of Twitter's AI. That's hilarious. That's ironic. I used Elon Musk's Grok to render an image of some people on the like hundreds of people moving from X to Blue Sky, and then you see the rain there on the left. So that's a little bit of Photoshop work. So yeah, that was this was both art and writing. So I get extra credit for that. Let's see. And there's Blue Sky, but there's my profile on Blue Sky. I want to say I had a great deal of fun this week on Blue Sky, and I'll tell you why. There is a thing on Blue Sky, and it's called starter packs. And I didn't even know how to create one of these starter packs. But when I first joined, like when I first appeared, I joined a year ago, but I didn't do anything with it. So I joined August 2023, and between then and now I had about 10,000 followers. Period. I just wasn't paying any attention to it. I wasn't posting. I just had it because I didn't want anybody to steal my name. Right. Um, and so when I popped in about a week and a half ago, all these people were sending me like these starter packs and please share this. And I would share it and I would look inside and I could see all these different accounts that I was familiar with from Twitter. Right. So I was like, oh, this is great. This is a cool way of figuring out, who's here, and I can refollow all of my favorite Twitter accounts. And when I say my favorite Twitter accounts, it's not just the heavies, the big accounts, the Mother She Wrotes and the call to activisms, because I do enjoy those accounts. Don't get me wrong, but it's also the smaller accounts, right? It's those smaller accounts that I see all the time, that give Twitter its flavor. It's the ones who post replies on my tweets, or the ones that pop up every once in a while, and you see them having a conversation with people like we used to do back in the old day. Like when I say the old day, I mean like back in 2017 or 2018, somebody would start a thread saying "Good morning," and they would have a picture of a cup of coffee, and the people in that person's Twitter community would chime in and they would say, "Oh, good morning. How are you, so and so?" And that's kind of how that was the vibe. I don't know if that vibe is still there or if it has been, I don't know if the bots and the trolls have run good people away. I'd hate to think that that is what happened, but anyway, these I digress. These starter packs, um, they let you yourself can create one. And so I created one, and there were some of you folks were in my starter pack, and I could not remember everybody. So I got as many as I could for the first one. And then I had some people messaging me saying, "Oh man, BDD, thanks for adding me. I got like 14,000 new followers from that." Some folks were like, "Oh my God, I got 25,000 new followers." And that felt great. It felt great to be able to help somebody out. It's because when your account grows like that, it's pretty, it's impressive. It's awesome. It feels validating. Whatever. It's cool. So I had fun with that this week, and I hope you guys, if you're not yet on there, I hope you give it a shot. It's a lot of fun. It's making social media fun again. What was not fun was what I witnessed on Friday night. I don't know if you guys saw this fight. It was a goddamn travesty. Look, the sport of boxing, it's controversial because some people feel like it's just violent and you're battering somebody, and but it's an art. It's an art form. What do they call it? The sweet science of boxing. There's a lot of tricks and techniques that make you good or not so good in it. There's defense and there's footwork and, timing and all that stuff. Anyway, this was a boxing match between Iron Mike Tyson and this guy who is like a social media dude. The hell is his name? Logan Paul. What the hell is his name? Anyway, this guy, I can't remember his name. Um, but He has won a whopping 10 fights. 10. 10 fights. He has been fighting for Jake Paul. Thank you. And I think his brother's name is Logan. Anyway, Jake Paul has won a whopping 10 fights. He's been fighting for maybe about 5 or 6 years, I think. And I don't know, maybe he's the real deal, but maybe he's not. There's a lot of questions about his credibility, about whether or not these fights are fixed. And I'm sorry, this fight, I'm a boxing fan. Like, I grew up watching Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes, who ultimately ended up defeating him, you know, and Mike Tyson and Lennox Lewis and Riddick Bowe and all those guys. This didn't feel right. Mike stood there biting his glove and did not throw a punch. Like, he threw some punches in the first round, and then there was a clinch between these two, and then all of a sudden Mike stopped throwing punches. That was it, and it looked fishy as hell to me. So, Simon, our buddy Simon Metcalf says it was rigged. It was bullshit. Yeah. So here's Samantha Hawkins saying, I hate to say it, but I think punches were pulled for a paycheck. Yes. Yes. I agree. Bernadette says, I like boxing, but I don't like Mike Tyson. I don't blame you, because Mike has a checkered past. He's not an altar boy himself. Plus, I think he's also could be wrong. I think he is a Trump supporter. That's neither here or nor there, because there are plenty of people that I do watch, shamelessly will watch, despite knowing that they are Trump supporters. So I put that to the side. But yeah, he's not for everybody. He said some things. I'm gonna eat your children. Questionable things. So yeah. Twisters. I watched, wifey and I watched Twisters this weekend. It was okay. Not great. It was good. Not great. I prefer the original with Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt. That's a classic. It's a classic. And, maybe it suffered by comparison, I think. Special effects were fine. The acting was okay. There was some humor in there, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, just, I think I prefer the original. And that's not to say I'm not like a guy who snubs uh, sequels. I love some of the best movies I've ever seen are sequels, like The Empire Strikes Back sequel, one of the greatest sequels of all time. Terminator 2. Awesome sequel. I will rewatch that sucker any day of the week. Spider-Man 2, one of the greatest of all time. So, I love a sequel. Didn't care for this. I do want to say something about this TV show. Wifey and I, Aliens. How could I forget? Thank you, Stella Baxter. Aliens, probably one, like top five sequel. Absolutely. Wifey and I started watching this show. It's on Netflix, and it's starring Ted Danson. Ted Danson, Cheers, and from The Good Place, and from everything. Ted Danson. Ted Danson is aging very well. He's old, and he knows it. He doesn't really act old, but he embraces, his weathered age. And he's aging very well. He's in a show called A Man on the Inside, and it's starring, you might recognize Rosa from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and you might also recognize Waitress from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Those are two very good performances in the show. Haven't finished it yet. And basically the concept, the plot is that Ted Danson is an old dude, and he lost his life partner. His wife passed away from Alzheimer's. I'm not giving anything away. You learn that in the first like 5 minutes of the show. And his daughter, waitress, begs him to find a hobby, do something, get out of the house, you know, etc. So he answers an ad in the paper that's looking for a guy who's 75 to 85 who has a cell phone and knows how to use it. And so, it was funny because, people between 75 and 85, they're not necessarily all that adept at handling, a smartphone. But he passes, and this woman, the woman who's right next to him on the picture there, he hires him to be a spy, basically, to infiltrate an old folks' home and discover who it was that stole a very expensive necklace. This necklace is worth like millions. So uh, it's a great show. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. Highly recommend. It's a lot of fun. And then there's Alien Romulus. I should have said. Spoiler alert or trigger warning. But yeah, Alien Romulus. Speaking of sequels, is I think this is the fifth or sixth entry in the overall Alien story, and I'm a big fan of the franchise, so I will be watching that by myself. Wifey is not a fan of the scary movies, and this hopefully is scary. Oh yeah, before I move on, Diane saying the female fight was the best fight I've seen in a while. It absolutely could have done without all of the headbutting. There was some headbutting that shouldn't have happened, and actually that headbutting caused the person who was being headbutt to lose. And I think that sullied the overall um, result. But it was a great fight. Great fight. Yeah. Serrano was robbed. Samantha Hawkins. I agree with you. Here, let's talk. Speaking of robbed, speaking of robbed, let's talk for a brief moment about this 2024 presidential election. Now, I know if you're like me, you're still hurting. It still smarts. It doesn't feel great to, wake up in this reality where we just came up short. But how short did we come up? The margin of victory between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris is not as wide as Donald Trump would have you think. He wants you to think, let me just full screen. Donald Trump wants people to think that this was a landslide, biggest victory ever. Nah, dude. No, it's not by a stretch. It was close. It was very close. In fact, it was one of the smallest margins of victory in recent history. We're going to say it was smaller than George W. Bush. It's, I mean, ultimately he won. If he won by 10,000 votes or whatever, then it's small. But percentage wise, he didn't win by 3 percentage points. It wasn't like 51 to 48 or 53 to 47. Well, nothing like that. No, he didn't even crack 50%. Let's look back at this. Here we go. Yeah. So up at the top here, this is showing top U.S. presidential popular vote totals. So Joe Biden is way at the top. He had 81 million votes, and he ended up with a 51.3% final result, compared to Donald Trump's 46.8%. So 51 to 46, yeah, that's a fucking landslide. That you got your ass beat. He got beat by 8 million votes and by 5 percentage points, right? But this year, he only had 49.9% with his 76.8 million votes to Kamala Harris's 48.2%. So really, what was it? 1.7%? It's not even 2%. Not even 2. Yeah. So I bring this up because Donald Trump and his minions and Fox News Fox News talking heads want to parrot these talking points about um, a mandate. Oh, he was given a mandate. No, 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 no. It wasn't a mandate. A mandate is Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan beat Walter Mondale's ass in 1984. Walter Mondale had one state, one, his own. That was it. That's a mandate. That's a mandate where you do whatever the hell you want to do. And fortunately for us, Ronald Reagan was still part of that old school political class where, you don't take advantage of shit like that. You still are trying to let the wheels of government continue to spin regardless of what party you're in. You realize that, you know, the other side of the aisle, they might have a different perspective on issues than you do. They might have different beliefs and different values, but at the end of the day, they are American. And we are ultimately trying to achieve for the American people. We are trying to make things better, right? Government is supposed to provide a solution to everyday issues that Americans need uh, help with, right? And yes, Tracy M. Reaganomics sucked. So, but he had a mandate. He could have done whatever he wanted with the Reaganomics, and that was it. And yes, he was still an arsehole, Simon, but he had a mandate. Uh, President Obama had a mandate. He won by a lot, both times. President Biden won by 8 million votes and 5 percentage points. And as a result, President Biden took that mandate, and boy, did he accomplish some shit. He did. So many things that people are going to be benefiting from his work for years to come, long after Donald Trump is out of office and 6 feet under. And I'm just, what is he? He's 80, he's 78. He's going to be 84, 82 when he gets out of office. He's eating McDonald's at his age. He's just doing he's just doing the wrong thing for himself. What Americans don't need a dictator. Indeed, Trump Reaper. Thank you for that. So long story short, he ain't got no mandate. So make sure you push back on that when you see Trumpers get in your business, get in your replies talking about he has a mandate. No, he doesn't. No, he does not. Is anybody else still watching Morning Joe these days? Anybody? I hope not. I sure hope not, because you might remember back in 2016 when these two, Joe and Mika, they helped normalize Donald Trump by having him on their show almost daily. They let him call in, and they had their witty banter back and forth with him, et cetera, et cetera. They didn't push him on anything. They didn't hold him accountable for anything. And then this past Friday, since then, Joe Scarborough has been attempting to rehabilitate himself, his image, So every day he rails about Donald Trump. Oh, he's the worst. Oh, I hate Donald Trump. Rah, 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 rah. But then Donald Trump won, and Joe and Mika try to do an abrupt about face, and they're like, "Oh shit! Oh shit! He won. We didn't think about that." So what? You can only criticize him if you think he's gonna lose? That's some cowardly shit. That's cowardly. So what they do? They made a pilgrimage. They made a pilgrimage to Mar-a-Lago. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. I'm just going to share this with you. Here we go.
Last Thursday, we expressed our own concerns on this broadcast and even said we would appreciate the opportunity to speak with the president-elect himself. On Friday, we were given the opportunity to do just that. Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
Now, we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade, that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so.
What we did agree on was to restart communications. My father often spoke with world leaders with whom he and the United States profoundly disagreed. That's a task shared by reporters and commentators alike. We had not spoken to President Trump since March of 2020, other than a personal call Joe made to Trump on the morning after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. In this meeting, President Trump was cheerful, he was upbeat, he seemed interested in finding common ground with Democrats on some of the most divisive issues. And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we? 5 years of political warfare has deeply divided Washington and the country. We have been as clear as we know how in expressing our deep concerns about President Trump's actions and words in the coarsening of public debate. But for nearly 80 million Americans, election denialism, public trials, and January 6th were not as important as the issues that moved them to send Donald Trump back to the White House with.
All right, enough of that bullshit. And it's bullshit because we know from behind the scenes, people who know Joe and Mika said that Joe and Mika are terrified, straight up terrified of Donald Trump, of his retribution. Oh my goodness. Wait a minute. Here's my friend Zelda. Thank you so much, Zelda. You're a sweetheart. Thank you. Thank you so much for supporting the show. Greatly appreciated. Thank you for that. And before I move beyond that, let me just put this up here. Talk about, is Val Bowen saying, talk about groveling for a job. Yeah, indeed. I think what their theory on this, she said, why wouldn't we? Here's another adage: if you can't beat them, grovel to them. That's not really, but it's, if you can't beat them, join them is the old adage. And yeah, so they're in groveling mode right now. I can't see. I don't know how they have performed on that show since that announcement because I'm not watching it. But I have seen a report as recently as today that said that they lost, since that announcement, they lost 15% of their audience. And, frankly, I'm surprised it's not a much higher number. And, why shouldn't you? Because you are part of the problem. You and the rest of daytime, I want to say daytime MSNBC, horrible, 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 horrible. Not worth watching at all. Just disgraceful, And I mean, I could spend an entire episode on all the ways that they are horrible, but they did help sane wash. They sane washed not just Donald Trump, but they also helped introduce into the ecosystem a lot of the bullshit narratives that the right wing was tossing up there, validating it by not correcting it, by not pushing back against it. A lot of erroneous conclusions that people were jumping to, either about the economy or about trans rights or about whatever it was that Republicans were trying to spin. Oh, immigration and the border, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, it was terrible. I would say from Nicole Wallace on down to Stephanie Rule at 11 o'clock, they're okay. The whole daytime crew needs to be gone. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, that might be entirely, well, it is entirely out of our hands. We have no control over what happens to them. But more importantly, I just saw a report that Comcast might be putting MSNBC up for sale. And I saw Donald J. Trump Jr., Don Jr., and Elon joking about it on Twitter, with Elon saying, well, how much does it cost? So I think if Elon ends up buying MSNBC, I can't imagine that would happen. But if he does, then we ain't got nothing to watch. That would suck. That would totally suck. Okay. What else there? Some good news is that the ICC has issued an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as the head of Hamas and his secretary of I think it was his secretary of defense, Gallant. And this is not going to have much of an impact on Netanyahu because he's not going to recognize the validity of that. The United States isn't going to recognize the validity of it, and that's including the current administration. So Joe Biden issued a rebuke to that. That's, if I love Joe Biden, I hate his Israel policy. I hate what he's done. I hate that he's allowed them to use our weapons to prosecute that war against civilians. Yeah, you could say that Netanyahu is targeting Hamas. That's bullshit. We've all seen the video of, so many children. And the horrible thing, the reason why the ICC is issued an arrest warrant for war crimes, Netanyahu's war crimes. One of those war crimes is using starvation as a weapon, starving people, civilians. It's disgusting. He is a monster. Nurse Mitch, thank you. So these. There's no smooth way to segue onto these three clowns. They're not monsters, but they are pushing the envelope there. Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy were both named to a non-governmental agency. It's not an agency. It's not a government agency. It's nothing right now. It's it's a discussion. It's a talking point. The Department of Government Efficiency, excuse me, Department of Government Efficiency, also known as DOGE. And Doge is Elon Musk's cryptocurrency. It's known as a meme coin because it's based off of a dog, whatever. That's his idea for um, cutting spending, and their goal is to cut spending by $2 trillion. One third of the budget they want to cut. They just want to lop off one third. How are they going to do it without touching Social Security and Medicare? They're not. They can't do it without touching Social Security and Medicare. So I'm curious to see how that works. But here's an interesting wrinkle. The interesting wrinkle is that Marjorie Taylor Greene, Miss Peachtree Dish, Miss Gazpacho Police, Miss Space Laser is going to serve on the House subcommittee for for this Doge thing. It's hilarious. It's yeah, so she is going to be a part of this thing. I don't know how Elon and Vivek feel about it. I can't imagine that they're too happy about it, you know. I think it's hilarious, and we have a great question here. We're going to get to this in a second. From Val wants to know. By the way, where are the black people in the Trump cabinet? There are none. There are none. But I saw a very funny comment. It was attributed to AOC. She said, putting Marjorie Taylor Greene in charge of the House subcommittee for this Doge thing is like handing someone a video game controller that's not plugged in. It's very funny. That's very funny to me. But yeah, that's a great question, Val. Let me put this back up there. Val Bowen is asking, where are the black people in the Trump cabinet? This is excellent because, you know, I think the past 6 months, a lot of attention was given to, Donald Trump is gaining more black support, support from black men, and blah 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 blah. And really, you know, that was yet another unhelpful thing from the media, another unhelpful boost that the mainstream media gave to a fallacious argument. Black men and black women are the two most reliable voting blocks in all of politics. No other voting block comes out in the percentages and numbers than black people, period. It's not even close. And that's also keeping in mind that people like Tim Scott and Byron Donalds, is that his name? Yeah, they basically, you know, they put on a song and dance, they tap dance for Donald Trump like you wouldn't believe. You would have thought that he promised them, you know, a high-ranking cabinet position. Neither of them. They're not even in the running for anything. All the lists that have been leaked out about people who are in position to, you know, no black people, none, 0.0. Byron Donalds, as I seem to recall, he was trying to rationalize Ron DeSantis's position on taking. Wait, do I have that wrong? Let me double check that. I'm not gonna, because I feel like maybe he might have surprised me, actually, Byron Donalds, on that slavery thing. I think he might have pushed back on that. But overall, I mean, he supported Donald Trump 100%, no holds barred. And now he's got nothing. He doesn't have a seat at the table. He doesn't have crumbs off the table. He's got nothing. Tim Scott You're a joke. You're an absolute joke. You're a disgrace. You're uninvited from the cookout. I don't even know when was the last time he was invited to the cookout. Let's talk about the insanity that is Donald Trump nominating Matt Gaetz for Attorney General. The Attorney General is the guy, the United States Attorney General is the guy who's in charge of the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice is a big, sprawling law enforcement organization that is in charge of chasing down all of the criminals, all of them. And Matt Gaetz, I don't even think Matt Gaetz has prosecuted a case ever. And what is he known for? His nickname is Captain Venmo. He's known for allegations of, they keep calling it sex with a minor. But in my brain, when my mouth says the words sex with a minor, that's usually called something else. That's called statutory rape, at the very least. Now, sure, he had been investigated by the Department of Justice, and they opted not to prosecute for some reason. Okay. So why are we even still talking about Matt Gaetz and these allegations? Well, because the House of Representatives did its own House ethics probe. And this is interesting. They initiated this after the DOJ closed their case. That's interesting. That's very interesting. It's interesting because there's a lot of people worried about that report seeing the light of day. Matt Gaetz himself opted to resign from the House like 2 days before this report was set to be released. He's like, you know what? I'm good, guys. I'm gonna take a powder. I'm gonna step out. I'm not gonna be in the House anymore. That didn't make it go away, though. It just made more people curious, like, what's in this House report? So it begs a question: if there was anything in that House Ethics Committee report to exonerate Matt Gaetz, why not release it? Release it. Surely you didn't find anything, right? You didn't find anything because if you had found something, why would you sit on it, right? Marjorie Taylor Greene the other day, she threatened to spill the beans. She said she knows about more shit, more, sex offender stuff. And she said she was going to tell everybody if they didn't back off of this one sex offender. Oh, boy. So, Donald Trump is privy to all of these discussions happening, all this rigmarole. Everybody, everyone's hair is on fire about Matt Gaetz, and Donald Trump's hair should be on fire too. And it begs the question, why let this guy flap in the breeze over this? Why even invite this discussion? Donald Trump was getting on the horn. Donald Trump was on the phone directly, personally, with Republican senators asking for their support of Matt Gaetz. And these Republicans said, like, nah, fuck that dude. We don't like him. Nope. They didn't want him. In fact, Donald Trump is taking another L too, because Donald Trump is also was trying to get recess appointments approved by the Republican senators, and they don't want to do that either. That makes sense because, and that's, I don't know if it's time yet to breathe a sigh of relief, because it does feel like, all right, these guys are assholes, but at the very least, they're like, no recess appointments. I don't know that that's necessarily been kicked all the way out of consideration yet. But it's weird, you know, how much bad luck. I don't know, what can we call it, bad luck? How many bad experiences Donald Trump has had with lawyers, with, attorney generals or personal lawyers that have defended him for one reason or another. Let's take a look back. We have Keebler Elf Jeff Sessions, his first attorney general. Then we have Bill Barr, Droopy Dog Bill Barr, who also, just as recently as a few months ago, said that Donald Trump was completely unfit for office. And I completely also forgot to mention acting Attorney General Matt Whitaker, he who had, let's see, he was selling some Sasquatch website and time machine thing and toilet bowl for guys with big dicks. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Handlebar mustache, Ty Cobb. This guy. Four Seasons total shit lawyer Rudy Giuliani. Alina have no idea what she's doing. So many bad lawyers. And either he's a magnet for these bad lawyers. I don't get it. Actually, some of those, let's see. This guy, handlebar mustache, seemed to be not so bad. And maybe at the end of the day, Jeff Sessions was still kind of connected a little bit too much to the decent past of politics, that's why Donald Trump got rid of him. But forget about Rudy Giuliani. I've never seen a fall as drastic, a fall from grace as pronounced as Rudy Giuliani. That was crazy. Oh shit. Fake Wilfred Brimley. The handlebar mustache dude. That's good. Yeah, so he's had shit luck with lawyers, but you'd think, come on, dude, this is what I don't get. When you're president, right? You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be an expert at everything. You surround yourself with the best people, right? You get those people who know what the fuck they're doing and you say, advise me. That's what a good president does, and gets the best advice. But that only works if you are open to taking advice. If you don't think that you know more than the generals or whoever it is that's trying to advise you. So yeah, back to Matt Gaetz. I think the only reason Donald Trump could have wanted Gaetz in there is because he is as awful or almost as awful as Donald Trump. Like there's another old saying, like, if you want people to think you're slim, hang out with a fat guy. Right? If you want people to think you're handsome, hang out with an ugly person, right? So both of them have these sex offender allegations hanging over them. And for Donald Trump, it's more than just allegations. he was found in a court of law liable for sexual assault of E. Jean Carroll. So that totally makes that totally puts a damper, a shadow over his presidency. So yeah, maybe he wanted Matt Gaetz around so that by comparison, maybe sexual assault looks more normalized. Maybe that's what he was going for. I can't understand it because this thing was out there for more than a week. Crazy. And so within hours of Matt Gaetz announcing that he's withdrawing, Donald Trump rolls out his replacement, Pam Bondi, who ain't much better. She's not much better at all. No. Pam Bondi has some history with Donald Trump going back to 2013 when his Trump Foundation fronted her 25 G's, $25,000, and then mysteriously, short time after that, Pam Bondi announced that she was not going to be investigating Trump University. Well, what do you know about that? What a coinky dink that is. Not a coincidence. She was also his impeachment lawyer, and she also did indulge greatly in the big election lie. The election was stolen. So this is who he is selected as his backup to Matt Gaetz. So technically, I guess she has more legal experience than Matt Gaetz. She was actually the Florida Attorney General. Doesn't mean that she was good. Doesn't mean that she was, oh, fuckery. Dang. Okay, I don't know what's going on with my camera. There's it's the same issue that I was having last week, apparently. Um, so yeah, I was saying that she was big election lie, and she is just as bad as Matt Gaetz. But here's another horrible pick. Here's Pete Hegseth, right? When he's not prancing around sporting his Christian nationalist tattoo, uh, he is either talking about women not being fit uh, for the military, or he himself is being accused of sexual assault. This particular instance, he was uh, he was involved in a payoff. He actually paid off the woman who was accusing him of sexual assault, and I actually do have. I think I have a video of him. Dang it. No. What's he doing? Okay, well, this sucks. But let's play this. Let's play this video real quick. So that's not a great. That's not a great answer. Did you sexually assault a woman in Monterey, California? I have. As far as the media is concerned, it's very simple. The matter was fully investigated. As far as the media is concerned, so that's not great. That's not great. So this is where excuse me. This is where Donald Trump's uh, picks are for his cabinet. They are a complete disaster. And don't even get me started on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who, by the way, just as recently as 6 months ago, was talking shit about Donald Trump. He was not a fan. Last I saw, was not a fan until he decided that uh, his morals and values, his convictions were for sale. As long as he could get himself an appointment. Wait, where is that? Here we go.
You write so beautifully, and your stuff is so fun to read. But you write about Trump. Well, the way that you build a truly vicious nationalist movement is to wed a relatively small core of belligerent idiots to a much larger group of opportunists and spineless fellow travelers whose primary function is to turn a blind eye to things. We may not have that many outright Nazis in America, but we have plenty of cowards and bootlickers. And once those fleshy dominoes start tumbling into the Trump camp, the game is up. When you talk about fleshy dominoes, Chris Christie comes to mind.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things that
All right, give me a second here. My goodness. All right, I guess I need a new camera. This is what I'm learning today. Live. Okay. And the list goes on and on. Tulsi Gabbard is a Russian asset. And this is who he wants for his director of national intelligence. This whole list is a disgrace. So before I get cut off again, let's talk about Donald Trump being let off the hook by Judge Merchan. So he didn't have great options. The 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 district attorney already recommended has already recommended that they postpone sentencing, because if we're thinking practically, how can you have a sitting president? He just got elected. How can you have a sitting president do his job from inside the jail, right? But then let's go back a few steps. How can you let a guy who is who is in under indictment? How can you let him? Fuck. My goodness, this is brutal. How can you let a guy who's under indictment run for president? How can you, 88 indictments? The guy with 34 felony convictions doesn't get sentenced? So when he gets out of office, when he's 82, if he decides that he's going to leave office, and if he decides he's going to leave office, then what? You're going to sentence an 82-year-old man? So he's basically going to get away scot-free. The other things, the Jack Smith thing has been put to bed. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so sorry for this bullshit that's going on with my presentation. Yeah, it's clearly some battery issues, and I apologize. I don't like to have this sort of thing interrupt our discussion. So I think I'm going to cut it short. I think we already did discuss pretty much the things I wanted to talk about Blue Sky. Although I do want to say that I think. Oh, look at that! Battery exhausted. That's funny. You guys did say it was battery related, so now I know what I need to do. So anyway, you guys, thank you for joining me for another episode of Storytime with BDD. I'm your host, BDD, aka Brooklyn Dad. Elon Musk did not hack my camera. But guys, thank you for joining me for this episode. I look forward to seeing you guys here next week, same time, same place, with a new battery. I love you all. Peace.